All right, Brock's got another controversial topic that he wants to, fire at us. This one's related to TCU, Sony Dykes. So let's hear what he has to say about that.
Yeah, I really wish we would have gotten this one out sooner before TCU proved my point even more, right? From the performance in the national championship game yesterday. But, I was thinking about this going into, it was probably after the semifinal. And I think Sonny Dykes as a head coach is overrated.
Why is that?
I don't think he's this, almighty, coach that a lot of people may think he is. And I think he's just getting a lot of unnecessary hype. And I'll tell you why. First thing, he inherited a very veteran roster when he took over TCU this year. And my second reason is, as a head coach, he's had one 10-win season besides TCU this year. He's been coaching for 12 years. And it's not like he's been coaching at high-profile programs either. So getting 10 wins should be very, very achievable. My third reason is he benched the Heisman finalist and Davey O'Brien Award winner in Max Duggan. He decided to go with the freshman over Max Duggan to start the season and was benefited by an early season injury. And, obviously my last point is going to be, his team showed nothing in the national championship game. So, we're going to go back to that first reason. The roster that he inherited at TCU was very veteran heavy in a lot of juniors, a lot of seniors. And I think, we were talking about this earlier with Kirk and Chris. They mentioned that TCU is going to have to replace 30 to 35 players on their football team going into the next season.
So you think your point will be proved next year?
I would be very surprised if TCU, I know they got a lot of great transfers coming in, and I'm really interested. I think TCU is the team I'm most interested to see how they do next year, because I think if they won 7 or 8 games, I think that'd be a huge plus.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a huge accomplishment, because they're losing so much. They're losing, they're starting quarterback, they're losing a couple of running backs, they're losing, wide receivers, they're losing corners, they're losing safeties. It's like they're losing a lot of good players. And I think that proves Sonny Dykes' success is he inherited a very, veteran roster, a lot of players that have already been there for a while. They knew how to be, great college athletes. And, Sonny Dykes just glued it together.
Yeah, and he's going to get his chance to prove you wrong next year.
Oh, he definitely is.
If he's bringing in 30, 40 new guys, he's able to, even compete for the Big 12 again, then I would agree that that's a success.
Yeah, and, I think that brings me into my second point, talking about Max Duggan is, Max Duggan had been the starter for 3 years. Sonny Dykes obviously comes in and he decides to go with the freshman Chandler Morris over Max Duggan.
Bench that dude.
And I remember watching a little bit of that TCU Colorado game early in the season.
Yeah,
and it wasn't pretty, it's like, it seemed to be two mediocre teams just slugging it out.
It was probably one of the worst football games I ever watched.
Yeah.
I know we watched it on the way to Gainesville, I think it was, or maybe on the way back in the airport or something like that. But who would have thought watching that game that one team would have one win all season and one team would have, one loss, obviously excluding that one last night, all season.
No, yeah. And it's a test, because once Max Duggan came in, that whole team changed. That game turned into a blowout, and then that's when their season started rolling. So I just don't know how you can really give Sonny Dykes credit for Max Duggan's success when he didn't even choose him to be the starting quarterback. He benched a 3-year starter and went with a young kid. And, then Max Duggan came in and did his thing and exploded. So I think that's my second point. And my third was, if you go through his records at other teams, he's only had one 10-win season.
So what did he coach? He coached SMU.
He was at SMU. He was at California, which surprised me.
Yeah.
I don't remember him at California. And then he was at Louisiana Tech. And his only 10-win season came in 2019 at SMU, where he went 10-3. Other than that, though, like 5-7 multiple times. He had a 7-3 in there. He had an 8-5, an 8-4. Just a lot of average seasons.
Pretty mid seasons, yeah.
So it's like, are we really going to give this guy the credit of taking over a veteran TCU team that was already destined to have a really good season, even when they were picked 7th? I think that's probably his best achievement at TCU is having them pick 7th and finishing 2nd.
Is that more credit to him? 7th in the conference and finishing 2nd in the country with the AP. You think that's more credit to him, or, you know, people just not really looking too much into how good TCU was going to be this year?
Well, I think when you do those preseason rankings, a lot of them are decided by what did you do last season and who do you have coming back.
Yeah.
So it's like when we think of, you know, the new AP or the preseason AP that's going to come out, a lot of the teams in the top 10 are going to be teams that had a really good finish to the season, have quarterbacks coming back, running backs coming back, important players on defense coming back. That's where their ranking is going to be. Yeah. And a great example of a team that I think is going to be ranked very highly going into next season is Florida State.
Yeah.
I think they'll be potentially a top 5 team because, you know, they finished 10-3. They finished 11 in the AP poll, and they're bringing back a lot of players on offense and a lot of players on defense.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, and how that relates to TCU is, you know, they finished 5-7. Yes, they did bring a lot of players back, but I think everyone expected the Oklahomas of the world, the Texases of the world, the Oklahoma States of the world to have really big seasons, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Which improves, you know, TCU with a veteran heavy team. And it also talks into their comebacks this season. Mm-hmm. You know, they had a lot of comebacks because they had a lot of players that have been behind in games before and knew how to react in those situations.
And I think as far as the rankings, they saw first year coach, and they're also like,
yep,
we don't see him being a top 6 team, even in the conference.
So I think kind of to wrap up this whole kind of argument, I just don't think Sonny Dykes is the guy that everyone thinks he is. I think he inherited a very good roster. I think he made some poor choices when it comes to the quarterback. And I think injuries really benefited TCU's season and obviously Max Duggan's season.
Yeah.
Because he's probably going to be drafted now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how TCU looks in 2023. I don't expect much from them. I expect them to be a 7 or 8 win team.